Production support for Hot and Cold is brought to you by American Solar Technics, manufacturers of components for wood burning and solar heating systems. Hey, I'm Tom Gozzi. This week we're down in the basement again because we got plumbing to do. We got manifold plumbing with plastic tubing, the wave of the future, right here in this old basement. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Here we are down in the basement again for another week of fun, but this is fun because we're getting to do manifold plumbing, which I love because it's quick, it's easy, it's clean, it doesn't suffer from freezing the way copper tubing does, and it's right here, and this is very compact. This is called a Manabloc, and it's made by Vanguard Plumbing, and they make plastic tubing, they make PEX tubing. PEX tubing is plastic pipe, and this is a piece here, this is a piece of 1/2 inch. And it's a flexible tubing. It's semi-rigid is what it is actually. It does bend. The little pieces don't bend that easily, but it's got a lot going for it because it's extremely strong. It will not scale, won't have any corrosion problems, and if it freezes, it will not burst. You don't want to freeze stuff if you don't have to, but it has a lot more tolerant to freezing than other materials are, like copper in particular. And we have so much stuff here to replace. We've got over here, if I don't slide in the mud in this basement, we've got copper. We come in from the street with galvanized, transitions right here to copper, goes copper into the water heater, then it transitions to the do-it-yourselfer's favorite, CPVC. I hate CPVC because it's brittle, I find it very unforgiving, and I just don't like to work with it. But it's here. It's a good opportunity to get rid of it all. It's done over there. It's hanging down in the way of everything. The galvanized is in the way of everything. It's all got to go. And we're going to put in the PEX tubing. What's beautiful about PEX tubing is a couple of things. When the Manabloc we've got here, we've got cold water coming in the bottom here. And we got cold water going out the top. This will go to the water heater, and then we'll bring hot water back in on this side. So you'll notice we've got all blue for cold and all red for hot. And the pipe is likewise color coded, so we've got blue tubing for cold water, red tubing for hot water, and we have stick-on labels that we'll put on when we're all done. If I put them on now, I will make a mess of them, so we're going to wait till we're done. And what we do with the tubing, and you can see a piece right up here, we use these tube talons, which are nail-loaded plastic hooks, and we just tack them every so often so the tubing is well supported up on the, in this case, on the floor joist, and we run our tubing everywhere we need to go. So we have not a lot to deal with. I ran all the pipe for this house, which is fairly compact, in about an hour. It just doesn't take long. And I did it by myself. If I had a helper, it would have been even quicker because you don't, if you have somebody unrolling it, it just is simpler. Two hands seem to make it go a lot quicker, but I've done it by myself. Most of these plumbing systems I've done, and I've used Manablocs for many years, and they've always served me very well. And any project I've done, I've always plumbed the entire house in no more than an afternoon. So it's that quick. So what we have to do now is just look at the issues in terms of getting it hooked up, which are not very much. We've got the water coming in. These are just protective caps. So these caps come off, and we'll look at those in a moment in terms of what goes on there for connectors. And I've just been kind of picking away at getting the connections made. And the connections are fairly straightforward. On the top three here, we've got a crimp connector, to show you. This just screws onto the manifold like so. I'm going to take this off so you can get a good close look at it. It's got a brass connector with an O-ring on the back side here, and this cone that goes over that screws down, and that just presses the whole deal onto the manifold. There's a key here. All these are off right now, and you take the key, which is just snapped in there, and you turn each valve on as you put water pressure to it. So these are all just hand tight. You don't have to go crazy. No pipe dope, no Teflon tape, none of that stuff that you have to deal with other plumbing systems. It's very simple. So what I'm going to do, we'll grab crimp ring. We're going to hook that one up. Okay, so what we've got here is the line that goes to the toilet, and I always leave a little bit extra tubing, and we're going to get it approximately where we want it to be. I'm going to take a tubing cutter. If you're working with this stuff, you can use a knife, a pocket knife to cut it, but tubing cutter like this is $10, $12. It goes a lot quicker with that. Throw that on the floor, throw that on the floor. We've got a crimp ring that goes over the outside of the tube as such, and we're going to put that right over like so. All right, and then I've got to get my crimp tool, and the crimp tool is just a big squeezing device that if we can, I can't get that in there, so we go to plan B. First one worked fine because there was nothing in the way, but we'll just unscrew this. This is good TV, isn't it? Okay, and then we just have that unfurled now. We center it on the crimper, and we squeeze the two handles together. Here, bottom out. That is crimped. I put the crimper on the floor where it can get full of mud, and we bring this back up, make sure the O-ring is in place. It is. And we're just going to screw that back on again. More good TV right there, huh? There's one more step we need to do. I got to grab my hammer to do it. And with the big hammer, we need to support the tube where it goes in the manifold. And we take a tube Talon, and we nail that sucker on, and that one's good to go. Now what we have to do here is, as these come in 4 to 6 inches out from the manifold, the tube has to be perpendicular with the manifold. So we're not putting any undue stress on it. This is a built-up conglomeration of valve assemblies, and there's O-rings in between. So we don't want to be torquing on it, and it's very easy to not do that, to not torque them. So we just bring it in perpendicular, and we're good to go. What I think we're going to do is we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we've got another fitting system that works on this as well. There's several different ways to do the same thing, so we'll show you another one, and we'll just keep picking away at this, and by the time we're done, we'll have all of this, what looks like a rat's nest of pipe, nice and neat and ready to put water to it. All right, we're back, and we're going to do another connection on the manifold here with another system. To be honest with you, this is a system that's set up for 3/8 tubing. We're using 1/2 inch tubing. These are transitions that allow us to go directly, but we're going to do another variation on the theme to show you a different kind of connector. This is a compression fitting, and what we have is a piece of 3/8 tubing. We've got a stiffener that goes into the tube. We've got a ferrule and a cone here this is 2 pieces here that go together as such. And we insert this in till that bottoms out, and then this big cone goes over, and we just tighten that down. And what happens when we tighten it down, everything compresses and makes a watertight connection. So it's very simple. And that's done. That won't come out. On the other end here we have a coupling which is 3/8 by 1/2 inch, and we're going to bring this, I think, over and under. Now, one thing with plastic pipe, when you work with it sometimes, you run the risk of kinking it. And if you kink the pipe, you lose a lot of the strength. With PEX tubing, if you kink it, you can take a hot air gun or a blowtorch. It's better with a hot air gun because blowtorch, you've got an open flame, but you can reheat the tube and reform it so it'll get all its strength back. And we'll show you that in a minute too, because what's more fun than ruining a piece of material and be able to fix it. So we're going to cut that right about there. I just happen to have my cutters right here. These are extremely sharp if you ever work with them. You want to be very careful about where you put your fingers. I've been very fortunate. I have never cut my fingers on this yet, and that's a good thing. And we get our 1/2-inch crimper again, and we bring this in. We put a crimp ring on there, and there's the crimp connector, the coupling in this case. Okay, and we're going to just do the same thing. I literally put that in the mud. I thought I was joking when I said that. And this is not the most fun place to be doing plumbing, but now we've just did another connection live on TV here. We're going to get another tube talon and the hammer. So now we've got another connection, and we just keep picking away. Should we do one more? Sure we should. Let's bring this one around and we'll do the same thing on this side. Okay, so I put another one of these deals together, and it's just going to insert inside there. We're going to tighten up the cone again, the locking nut. I alternate between calling these cones and locking nuts. And we just torque that down. That's done. And the next logical line to do is this one. And what we'll do is snip that one right there. And let's do it. Always put the sharp part of the cutter where your thumb is so you can see it, so you don't cut your thumb. And that's going to snap back a little bit, so let's not hit the camera. See, there's many risks involved in doing a TV show like this, isn't there? But doing plumbing fast is just the great thing. And now we just crimp that sucker again with our muddy crimp tool. And we put another tube talon on there because we need to support each one of these. And you can see that's, I'll put it right, I'm going to put it right there. Pick a spot, Tom. Do it. And let's do another one. Okay, so there's number 6. And we ought to do another one. Hey, that's number 7. You know, we're so close to being done with the downstairs part. I'm starting to get a headache, like we're not going to have enough. We're going to have time left over at the end of the show. We'll put a tube talon on though. That'll take another 10 seconds. We got 2 more pipes done, and the whole building is replumbed. And with that being done, I have replumbed the whole house. I haven't put the water heater on yet, which again are these 2 connections, but it uses the same kind of threaded connector that we have here, down here. In this one, this line goes back over to the water meter, and it's a fairly stout line. It's 3/4 inches, you can see. It goes the entire length. And what we use are these tube talons, these hook nails. And you know, if you ever have the opportunity to do any of this plumbing, PEX tubing plumbing systems, you need to use tube talons to hook your tubing up. The tubing has a little bit of a mind of its own. If I grab a piece here, you know, it is fairly tolerant of a lot of things. But I tell you what, let's go upstairs and look at the other end of the connection where we're not in the mud. And we're also going to do this. We're going to take a piece of PEX tubing, we're going to destroy it, and we're going to bring it back to life. The Lazarus. Should we cut now? The Lazarus plumbing system. So here we have a nice piece of 1/2-inch Vanguard PEX tubing, and it's, you know, it's a rugged material. It's a little on the stiff side, but it's not real stiff. But there's a threshold you go to. And if you keep doing this, eventually it kinks. That's a kink. Now if we let it go back out again, you see how it's kind of compressed in there? That's a weak point, or it's at very least an obstruction point. But fear not. If you have a hot air gun, which of course I have one, you just take the hot air gun and you uniformly heat around that kink. You can already kind of see what's happening here. See where the kink was? Where's it going? By golly, it's disappearing. It repolymerizes the material. Now, if this was a clear tube, they do make, a lot of companies make clear, what we call natural color material. You can actually see it change color. You can't really see it with this. So that's done. How long did that take? I mean, we had 2 minutes before the break, and the break hasn't happened yet, so that was less than a minute, I think. Now that's very floppy. The other thing you can do with a hot air gun is if you need to assume a position, you can, I guess a smoke alarm knows that we are heating tubing. It's good to know the smoke alarm works. It's good to know that you can reform your PEX tubing. We got to take a break. The building could be on fire. We'll be right back. So our repolymerized PEX tubing is in fine shape. We got the smoke. We put out the fire. You can hardly smell it, but it put off a little bit of a smell and made the smoke alarm did its job. So we have to do the other end of the connections, and we can't do them just today because we haven't hooked the manifold into the water line yet, because we've got galvanized pipe down there. I need to have the water, we're taping on a weekend, we need to have the water district here to shut off out at the street in case the galvanized pipe breaks when we try to tie into the water meter. So it's going to be an exciting time when that happens. But we're going to come back at the very end here and we'll have everything functioning. What I wanted to show you though is connecting this end, being up here now, to our faucets, to our bathtubs, whatever. And there's basically 3 fittings. There's more than 3, but there's 3 that I work with. First would be a sweat fitting. Again, it's a crimp fitting that inserts in, and this would sweat onto a piece of 1/2-inch plastic tubing. So we'd sweat that onto the plastic tubing, then put this in with a crimp ring on it, crimp the ring, connection's done. The lavatory faucet like this, normally the bottom side of the faucet is going to be a 1/2-inch male connection. We use what's called a 1/2-inch female swivel, and that's got a swivel nut, and here's the connection with a gasket material on it, and that goes in like this. This we usually crimp on ahead of time because you can't get up under there very easily. We'll crimp that on, we put that up on the faucet and turn it by hand, and then just snug it up with a wrench. That works real well too. And then the third kind is if we have something that's got a male or female connection to go into. Sometimes kitchen faucets might have that. It would be the mate basically to this. These can go together if we needed to, but generally faucets are going to be a 1/2-inch connection of some form, not always, but the company makes all the fittings we need to interface with any kind of plumbing system. So we can tie into galvanized, copper, CPVC, polybutylene, and of course other manufacturers' PEX tubings as well. So there's a lot of different, although a lot of the PEX tubing is all the same diameter. Not all of it, but most of it is. So we can do this mix and match if we need to make everything fit properly. So what we're going to do now is we're going to, through the magic of television, stop, get the water guy in here, get the water hooked up, and look at the final operating system and a little bit of some of the stuff that we cut out because it's a mess. So through the magic of television, as I say, we're back and everything is hooked up now. We've got all the water lines as pretty much as you saw them, with the exception we moved the water heater in behind the manifold, at least temporarily. And I just have to point out, if you look underneath the water heater, I dug down, what, 4 inches and put the water heater on cinder blocks, and we're not going to be, this isn't going to be a dry basement. So anyway, I thought that was kind of cool. There's a lot of water down here, and after we get done with all the other plumbing projects, we will be digging trenches and get everything to a sump pump and try to make this a drier basement. Never going to happen until we actually dig it and get some good drainage in. But this is all hooked up now. We've got a blue water line that comes in. We've got a temporary cold water line going to the water heater here. Eventually, when we get the final water heater in, we'll tap in up here where I have just a stop right now. This is the hot water coming in from the water heater. I got my little shut-off valve here because I was cheating on one of these lines using it for a place to mix cement. So I got to put that back in there, don't I? There we go. And let's go over to the other end of the basement where we were looking at the water line that came in. We had some serendipity smile upon us, and serendipity on hot and cold is always a good thing. Over here is where the water line comes in, and as you recall, we were talking about galvanized and all the concerns we had. Water company came this past week, and serendipity smiled upon us, as I say, in that the water line where it comes into the basement turned out to be, it's way down there, and it's kind of dark over on this end. It's 1/2 inch copper. So we put a union here, we reduced it up, which would be bushed it up to 3/4 inch because the water meter is set up for 3/4 inch. Got a shut off here. We have a backflow preventer up here. We have another shut off here, and then we transition right up here to that blue PEX tubing that feeds the Manabloc. So the little bit of copper we have is just for tying into the water meter. I've got a piece of 2x4 here that's sitting on the wet dirt, or not wet dirt, but wet concrete right now. Eventually I'll put a piece of pressure treated here, but that's adequate for now because I need to support all of this very rigidly. The water meter obviously is kind of heavy. It's a big brass thing, and we don't want this flopping around. We don't want to break that water line where it comes into the ground because that makes life really bad. So that's all put together now. It's all done. We have shutoffs. You need to spend money on shutoffs. If you're a do-it-yourselfer, you got to make sure you have shutoffs where you can isolate things. In this case, one on either side of the water meter. If we ever need to service something, we can shut off the whole house here or up there, either side, if we had to service the backflow preventer or something like that. And of course, we have shutoffs all on the other end, so we can isolate any part of the system very quickly. If you're the one doing the plumbing, whether you're a husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, whoever you are, need to let the other person know who may not be a plumber where the main shutoff is. So if there ever was a leak somewhere, they can easily come down here and shut things off, give you a phone call, and you can solve the problem easily without having a flood. Floods ain't good, are they? Also, something else, having a main shutoff like this, that's a good, convenient main shutoff. That's a high quality ball valve. You just flip the switch and all the water's off, and that's, I think, a reasonable thing to do if you go away in the wintertime. If nobody's going to be in the house, it makes sense to shut the water off, just relieve the pressure off the system. Even though you don't blow the water lines out, a lot less likelihood of having a problem. So the plumbing's all done, domestic water's all done, and we're good to go for the next project. And there's a few more left. So we'll see you next time. If you have a question, give us a call on the radio. Production support for Hot and Cold is brought to you by American Solar Technics, manufacturers of components for wood burning and solar heating systems.